This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to yet another Molby on the Spot, your weekly chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of Mr. Jan Molby. So, we won't waste any time. We'll welcome him back. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, young Trevor. I hope you're well.
I am superb, sir. Things are way better than they had been last week, thank God. We're all a bit more relieved around these necks of the woods. So it's good. We can talk about the football. I even did a midweek cup game, and usually myself and my colleague Dave Hendrick are sort of vaguely aloof when it comes to the cup games on Raw, and we opt out of those. So we did the league and the Champions League. But last night, lovely, relaxed atmosphere. Why not have a bit of crack? So we will go there, of course, in good time. But I want to start with the Arsenal game because we had spoken about it a lot in the last show leading up to it. And it's one of those ones where I think everyone was thinking, well, this is going to be a good yardstick for us to judge where we are. And of course, the lead up was all the narrative being led by Sky Sports and their ilk about, oh, poor Arsenal, they are so shattered by injuries. And it did sound initially like there was going to be a few, but most of us felt, yeah, we'll see how this pans out. And at the end of the day, they had their one long-term absentee, and then there were two others, which sounds awfully like Liverpool, actually, when you do the sums on it. So I wasn't really buying into that, except you had no choice if you followed it on Sky. They were just hammering this point home again and again. Poor Arsenal. Look what they're doing against all the odds. Like they were some kind of underdogs. And that's how it panned out, and that's how it panned out in the stories afterwards. And of course, they didn't get the rub of the green on one particular thing, according to themselves. I've never seen anything quite like it, my friend, ever from a fan base. They are coming from a place of entitlement or something, but my God, the crying, Jan, in the wake of that result has been extreme. Now, I know you don't expose yourself to it, but I'm interested to hear what your takes have been or what you've been hearing from people you speak to. And no doubt you have people who are involved with or played with Arsenal who you're friendly with.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally, and you're absolutely spot on, Trevor, wherever all the crying and whining goes on, I don't see any of that. I've spoke to a number of people, and I think the general consensus with the people I've spoke to that the result was just about right. People came away from thinking, yeah, that feels about right. I mean, it was one of those games that even Manchester City were delighted with the result. You know what I mean? It suited them as well. And then I had to be, by the time I got home, and it was almost midnight by the time I got back in, I then saw Henry Winter, which I have a lot of respect for Henry Winter, on on Sky Sport talking about the game, and then he goes, well, I guess he said, sadly, the talking point will be the referee. And I thought, why would it be the referee? And in fairness, from what I've seen, it wasn't the referee. I don't know where people were trying to pluck that from, that the referee had been involved in a lot of controversy. Yes, in the moment sort of thing, you go, that could have gone either way or whatever. But I think as a whole, once the game had finished, you look back, you go, nothing really to write home about. The only thing was that last minute where Arsenal scored, but surely there was nobody in doubt that the referee blown his whistle. Right or wrong, doesn't really matter, blown his whistle, which was the end of the day. So there was no way VAR could interfere. And I guess if VAR would have had to, they would have probably looked at the second where Kai Havertz would have gone out to. So that was the only kind of thing. And a few of the Gooners boys, obviously Michael Thomas lives in the Village, and David Ilya I spoke to, they were all to say, no, good game. We all agree that, I think the whole world agrees that the three best teams in the Premier League are the two we saw on Sunday, plus Manchester City. So yeah, but obviously on social media, you've obviously been exposed to all sorts of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, for my sins, Jan, I'm afraid it's a thing that I have to face on a regular basis. Primarily because I want to kind of have some vague idea who I'm talking to and what people are talking to about, rather. But I guess I find it all very tedious. And it's interesting, isn't it, that fellas of a certain generation, and more to the point, fellas who've actually played the game, are able to say, yeah, the thing was about right, because it was about right on the day. I don't know if it's a reflection of where the two teams are at, and we won't know until we get a fairer representation of the two strongest versions of those teams. The idea that it was some sort of masterclass of tactics by our pal Arteta can't have it. Similarly, I think Arne Slot will look at that first half and think, yikes, and maybe we'll learn a lot from it. There are things that we can get out of that game for sure, both sides. But the main takeaway for me afterwards was, okay, the status at the top of the table has changed, but we were leading by a point, and now Man City are leading by a point, and we've kept the others 4 behind us. And I think that's very significant as we go into the last part of this little chunk of matches ahead of the international break. I think that's very significant indeed, because if City, Jan, were to slip up at any point, and they do look very capable of it without Rodri, then we just need to be best placed to slide back in front again and to take advantage of this Rodri-free era of City, where in the past it's proven to be the one weakness that they have is when they're without him. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't feel like the status quo changed all that much. The one thing I'm really happy about is that we maintain Arsenal 4 points behind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big stats man, but I think if you look at Manchester City's underlying stats for this season, they kind of suggest that they can't keep getting away with it. And what I'm talking about keep getting away with it is winning their games. They beat Southampton 1-0 in the league, but apparently Southampton was by far the better team. Missed all sorts of chances. They got lucky at Wolves, where they scored the winner in the 95th minute. Then they got lucky against Brentford. Then they got lucky when they beat Fulham 3-2. Then they got lucky when they drew 2-2 with Arsenal. And my suggestion is that, look, the stats are telling me they can't get away with it. And then I'm thinking, well, they probably will, because that's kind of how it works, isn't it? But you mentioned Rodri being out at the moment, but there's a number of other people being out. And they lost a couple of players in their defeat to Spurs in the Carabao Cup. So this might just be the time, Trevor. The next 2 league games they've got is Bournemouth and Brighton away. Not the most difficult games, but tricky games, because both teams play with a lot of energy, with a lot of pace, and they're the kind of teams that's going to get at you. I don't believe the teams that will sit back are going to be the ones who are going to take points of Manchester City. The ones who are going to take points of City right now are the aggressive ones, are the energetic ones, are the ones who are prepared to have a go. And I think the fact that Bournemouth and Brighton are both at home, this might just be one hell of a chance. I'm not suggest they need to lose both games, but they just, and also now they lost these long unbeaten records, and so this might just be the time. The rest of us, we just got to hang in there. Equally, we've got difficult games coming up. Brighton, I think we realised when we saw Brighton in the club with the changes they made, and we saw a couple of the boys, Mitoma comes on and you kind of go, ooh, I wouldn't want him to run right for 90 minutes, you know what I mean? But that's the challenge we've got at the weekend.
It is the challenge we face almost immediately, and I had exactly the same thought about that exact same player. I don't know about you, Jan, and just to flag one thing up here really quick, because one of the little topics I want to get to is the constant swirling transfer stories that won't go away. Obviously, it's that time of the year. Again, we're getting there again. And, you look around the league, there aren't too many more attractive players in terms of impact that might be gettable, whatever that word means, than Mitoma. He's right in there in that bracket, isn't he, of Premier League exciting talents.
He's sensational. There's no other word. He had a few problems last year with injury and came back and couldn't quite find his form, but he looks as good as ever, and he's got that ability, hasn't he? That dribbling ability. He goes past people like they don't exist. I'm a big fan. And when you say that he's available, yeah, he's available because he plays for Brighton, and everything at Brighton is for sale at a price. And we spoke to him before about players, and we probably have a good working relationship with him in it yet. But he's really a player. But having said that, he plays on the left, and on our left, when we look at our two boys on the left, we've got a hell of a battle there, haven't we? Diaz or Gakpo, who's going to win that one? Both of them in excellent form.
Yes, which is all very encouraging, and I suppose that's that takeaway. And Arsenal seems so long ago now. It's just a big match. There were some talking points. I definitely wanted to refer back to it. What we saw recently was last night, where in the Cup, Arne switched it up in a way that was very un-Arne Slot-like, and probably told us a lot, Jan, about his comparative worry about this competition and where on the pedestal he places it. Now, whereas we've seen Kloppo change it up in the past, he's changed it up in a way that was to introduce a load of our nippers into the squad, whereas now it seems Arne has his set squad, very much his set team as well, with the exception of one or two moving pieces depending on injury and maybe form, but usually injury. But he changed it up quite substantially. And there was only really Robbo and Dom Szoboszlai and maybe Cody, who I think were nominal first teamers in that starting 11 last night, from what I can remember off the top of my head. But we had a hell of a bench. And it was like he was unwilling to give these guys a proper night off. Only Grafenberg, who was tweeting or social media-ing from his account mid-match, where he was in some sushi restaurant with his missus, watching the game on his phone. He was the only one who seemed to get a proper night off. All the rest of them were there on duty, which is interesting to say the least. What do you think of that? First of all, did you read much into the selection, the mass changes, and whereas I'm saying that indicates a very clear attitude towards this competition, it could have been even stronger if he had, like I say, benched quite a few and then also given quite a few a complete rest. But he didn't choose to do that.
You spoke before about the difference with Klopp would introduce a number of youngsters into these games, and Arne's not. And Arne's is very much the Dutch model. Do not give the young players something and then take it away from them. That is very Dutch, where you introduce them 16, 17, 18 or into first team football or first team training, and then you take that away from them again. In the Netherlands, they're very aware of once we introduce them to that kind of exposure, we have to keep them with the first team. So I don't believe he's a big fan in introducing youngsters and then asking them to go back. I know the academy is only around the corner. It's the same training facilities now, isn't it? But I do believe that he believes that once we make that decision, we keep them. And also a very Dutch thing is that keep them where they are 3 months longer. If that's what they need, and they don't ever be scared of leaving them there too long. The worst thing you do is get them too early, and then get damaged by the whole experiences. So I think in a way, I'm delighted that we're able to read them now. Premier League and the Champions League is obviously taking preference. I guess when we go to Southampton in the quarterfinal of the Carabao, it'll be a similar lineup, and that lineup on a good day, filled with internationals, will be good to more than give Southampton I go, and then of course, should we end up in a semi-final? I believe there's only one semi-final this year, but it used to be two-legged. Then within the semi-final, Trevor, then surely you have to play a strongest team. Well, I really don't know.
And it feels as if there will be enough in that group of players to go and get past Southampton, depending, well, certainly on current form, let's say. And, you know, like you said, all bets are off then if you're only a game away from Wembley. So, look, it's exciting. Not quite as the exact excitement that a lot of people are wanting. Some people have a very negative attitude towards it because I could see the reactions to Mac coming on and getting so many minutes, to Mo and Darwin coming on and all the crying of why the fuck are they playing in this game? How is that necessary? In response, I would just say to anyone like that, can you imagine Mo Salah in your ear? You've put him on the bench. That lad wants to get on the pitch. I imagine he's a constant nuisance in Arne's ear. And, you know, he also, Mr. Slot, seems to have this very, very sensible approach to knowing when fellas can be on the pitch and when they need to ease up on their training and all this type of thing. And so far, Jan, it's working. So I don't feel like throwing out any criticism of our new Dutch manager at this stage of the game.
Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Get your holidays started with the perfect tree in your perfect style from the Home Depot. Whether you want something that you can assemble in a few clicks, steal the show with over 2,000 color-changing bulbs, or a tree with lights that can be controlled by remote or foot pedal. The Home Depot has it all in our huge assortment of premium trees. Plus, get free delivery on over 2 million items this holiday from the Home Depot. Subject to availability, see homedepot.com/delivery for details.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
No, I totally agree. Most of them do it anyway. Yes, there was a number of Premier League clubs who made about the same changes as Liverpool did. Arsenal made the same 7-8 changes. I think Manchester City made changes, but they have a strong bench, and they don't put them on the bench just in case. They put them on the bench to give him 30 minutes, to give him 20 minutes. That's the plan. You can imagine the big boys traveling down to Brighton. You ain't going to travel down there without getting 20 minutes, are you? Because you know yourself as a player, you never know what can happen 20 minutes. If you're a Mo Salah and you come on with 25 to go, you never know. might get yourself wrong, might get a penalty, isn't it? You know what I mean? And they're the kind of things that you're after sometimes in it. So, no, there's no need to criticise the manager. The players, so Manchester City have got a lot of injuries at the moment. Arsenal have had a lot of injuries, and they're just getting the players back. But we don't look like we're about to implode and we're going to get a little injury. We don't look stretched. You know, we don't look stretched because of the way that we play, because of results or lack of results. We look in control. You know, and when you're in control, you can also, to a certain extent, control lack of injuries. You know, you can control, you can take them off to 65 minutes and whatever. So I think we've done that very well.
It's very interesting that the thing I've been saying on every post-match Raw is the only threat to Liverpool is Liverpool. It's been our own mistakes almost every time. Okay, occasionally you can put it down to some brilliance by Saka, but you could also say that there's probably a version of Andy Robbo that sees that danger out. There's definitely a version of Virgil van Dijk who sprints down to be there, to be the second line. And it just feels as if, like I say, there's to back up what you're saying, that we're kind of playing within ourselves still. And that's very, very encouraging, I think. There was something I wanted to talk to you about that felt sort of controversial to me, would certainly, I think, have been a talking point amongst fans if you were online immediately afterwards, and certainly came up on our show because I felt it was important to bring it up. Gerald Kwanzaa, who was sort of unceremoniously hooked in a match in an old-fashioned way, and that you and I remember in the time before feelings in football, and it was just, well, you've had a fucking mare, or it's not going well for you, lad, so off you go. And people used to be very okay with that, and the expectation was that you would respond to it in the right way. And I think, to be fair to Jarrell, it's nothing to do with him. I'm sure he did have that reaction to it, but his opportunities have been precious few since. He comes in for the start alongside Joe Gomez, who nobody's talking about at all. He's the absolute forgotten man of Liverpool and for his national side. But Jarrell finds himself, doesn't he, in a bit of a situation where he makes a rick, a very obvious one, an infield pass. In those situations, you know, we like to play the ball out from the back like so many teams, but you got to make those count, and you can't be playing it into danger zones like that. And obviously Ferguson snatches it, and then the rebound's put away by Adingra. Look, that can happen, and I don't know what you made of his game overall, but then all of a sudden he's front and centre, trying to block a shot from Lamptey, and he gets a knee or a shin to it, and it deflects the wrong way and takes it away from Yaros, who was, I thought, outrageously good on the night. Now, you could not possibly think that that's Jarrell Kwanzaa's fault. He's trying to do a thing, which is a positive thing. It's bloody unfortunate. Then he gets hooked with a couple of minutes left for the lad who is, you know, clearly one of the two guys who is going to play all the time. It felt kind of intentional in a way that was almost like a statement. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but would it have been too much to bring on Ibu, sit him alongside Jarrell to see out the game and take off one of the midfielders or forward players? Maybe I'm talking nonsense. What did you make of it?
No, I think in many ways it's a clear message from the manager. He's had two this season, the one at Ipswich and again the one against Brighton, where he just felt that I don't quite trust him to be able to be part of seeing us home in this game. Sometimes it can be the life of a young footballer. You spoke about the way that we play, i.e. we want to play out from the back. When you talk about that, you also have to talk about the way that Kwanzaa plays, because he also plays with a slight arrogance about him. You know, he's very comfortable on the ball. He's quite happy to go close to job position with the ball. He's not scared of dropping the shoulder and going by people. That's part of his way of playing. So I guess when you're young, you've got to make mistakes. And it just depends on how those mistakes look. Other people will make mistakes defensive in one situations where they get caught or they get caught for pace or whatever. he tends to get caught by overplaying. No, not necessarily overplaying. That's maybe the wrong word, because he's playing the way he's been asked to play. But he's playing sloppy passes. We saw it at Old Trafford. Now we've seen it at Brighton. But it's part of his game, isn't it? That's the way he plays. He plays with his head up. He wants to encourage the opposition to get close so he can go by them or pass by them. So it's a steep learning curve. But I have no doubt that Arne Slot, yet again, instead of having to sit him down at the end of the game and go blah, 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 I think Kwanzaa now knows that, okay, there's still certain things that the manager's not happy about. And until I'm able to put that right, there's going to be players ahead of me in terms of starting for the first 11.
Can we just talk about one of these narratives that's building up among the fan chat? Because it's relevant here. I've seen people talk about how, for some reason, they're not completely warming to Arne Slot, and I've seen people say that, decisions like that would perhaps suggest a sort of detachment, coldness, the type of thing people used to associate with Rafa Benitez, where, Stevie always wanted an arm on the shoulder merchant, and he never really got it from Rafa. And we were really aware of that sort of dynamic. Now, maybe it's just me, but I don't see any evidence of that with Slot at all. I think he seems like quite a warm, open individual who has a bit of fun about him, can make a joke, has time for the fans, makes sure to acknowledge them. This to me just seems like a kind of a bullshit story that's been put out there so that we get to talk about the horrible loss of Klopp. That era is over now, and it makes no sense to do anything but embrace the Slot era entirely, including what I find the very relieving thing of not having to be up to emotional high fucking dough every single game. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, Trev. I mean, it's obviously doesn't help Arne Slot that he's coming on the back of the personality that Jurgen Klopp is, because you know yourself, if you ask Jurgen Klopp a question, his first thoughts will be something emotional. You ask about a player and you go, oh, what a wonderful boy, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas Arne Slot is totally different. But I also think that Arne Slot would have been wise enough to let the players know how he operates when he took the job. And he'd go, listen, I'll give you every opportunity to become a better player than what you are, and I hope to be able to improve the team as well. But I do it my way, in a time and in a world that's full of bear hugs and high fives and whatever else. And that's not his style. You can see that. You can sense that. Even when he shakes hands with the opposition manager before and after the game, it's not his style. He has a little group hug with his backroom staff, but that's as far as he goes, isn't it? But I lived in Holland for 2 years, and I know what it's like, isn't it? Bang, they let you know. But if you're a professional athlete in whatever sport, if you can't cope with that, and maybe you shouldn't be there. I don't think Arne Slot would have said to the players, listen, I'm not going to babysit you and mollycoddle you, whatever. I don't think he would have ever said that, but I do think that he might have warned them and said, listen, in a very professional manner, I'm going to tell you what I feel.
One of the things that is going to start being thrown at him in every press conference from now to the end of the window, and it will start now, is, are we going to make any additions? So we'll be having conversations about the lad who loves the mountains in Spain and couldn't leave them. And we'll be having conversations about all sorts of other people who are apparently available. Today, for some reason, there's fanciful Tchouameni chat doing the rounds because some mischievous person threw that out there for people to latch onto. Whatever about the individuals, and we'll talk about them if and when they ever become real, or if and when there's actual interest from the club that we are aware of. Would you think, and would you join Jamie Carragher in saying that if we want to maintain our challenge and be realistic title contenders, that there will have to be additions? That when you look at the left side of the defence there, and you think, Robbo's showing signs of getting on a bit in terms of maybe just that little bit of recovery pace and stuff like that. It's a bit silly to be too harsh on the fella, but I think if you can't see it over the last couple of years, you're maybe not watching, or you're watching through rose-tinted glasses. Costas is a good lad and can be great, and his deliveries and dead balls are fantastic, but is he the guy we want there? Well, what about this thing that was being touted in the press about the left-sided centre-back crossover character that we could really, we were linked with about 4 of them, if you recall. There's one area. And the other area, which could patently do with improving, the other area is, do we need that holding midfielder? Everyone's really high on Gravenberch now, but Gravenberch is still not that guy that we wanted. He's still not doing that role. He's doing a version of a midfield central holding player, but it's not that. Do you agree with Carragher's assessment that we need to add? And if so, would you change your mind about where, based on what we've seen so far?
Now, obviously, if we want to sign anyone in January, I would maybe view that as a short-term solution, although he can also be, you can also sign somebody who's 21 and play at the next 10 years. But I just think that I don't think we're going to sign anyone in January, because I think it's ahead of time. I think it's ahead of time of how Michael Edwards and Richie Hughes are planned. Things are going to plan out. I think they have bigger plans. And I think those bigger plans will come in next year or next summer. And I think they'll look at it and go, it might affect our title challenge. But if we can keep everybody fit, we should be able to cope. But it might affect, but we're quite prepared to run that risk and take that gamble. And I think that's the way it's going to play out. The easiest thing, clickbait, Trevor, is always, and transfer windows, and let's get some players, isn't it? I can't see it. And coming back to Robbo had some problems the first 20 minutes against Chelsea. He then recovered, and he had the same problems in the first half against Saka. He then recovered. There's still something about Robbo that I like. It's like, yeah, but this boy's been there and done it, hasn't he? And he's determined, and he gives you everything he's got. And if he gets himself into trouble in games, he does everything he can to make sure he gets himself out of trouble, isn't it? But I do agree that if you're going to play 60 games a season, which Robbo used to do on his own as a left back, he can't do that anymore. But as I said before, I don't think January would be the time. That's just my feeling. And always trying to second guess Michael Edwards. Michael Edwards. Now, one other thing you said about Germany, it's very rarely we bite on them, isn't it? It's very rarely we bite when clubs are looking to get it, because that's not how we do business. We tend to do things our own ways. And I just look at it and think, ever since Michael Edwards has come in, he's basically made one decision, and that is to appoint Arne Slot as our head coach. I think he's done a really good job. That's how I view it. That's the only decision he's really made, is to make Arne Slot the head coach of Liverpool, to pick somebody who can carry on the good work from Jurgen Klopp, and I think he's done that really well. And I think next summer he'll be ready. He'll have the plans in place, and slowly we'll see things start falling into place.
Yeah, the biggest appointment has been made, and it is interesting to see how it's developing under the man. Just as it was floating around, I wanted to say it to you. The other last thing from Arsenal, Brighton, and those squad additions that I wanted to talk to you about is when you look at the standings now and you see, like we mentioned earlier on, the league at the very top of it, we're looking at City there, and there's only a point in it now, and we actually have a better goal difference than them, and considerably better by 5 than Arsenal, and by 7 than Villa, which I guess, when it comes to the crunch, that's almost like a point in itself, what it is. You have a possibility, I think, that we can say it's a realistic title contending team based on what we've seen so far, and based on the strength of the challenges that have started to mount. After the draw against Arsenal, people were starting to say, well, this next run of games are going to really determine. Do you feel any differently? Do you still feel that we are title challenge contenders? Do you think that we're perhaps maybe being a bit hopeful there? do you feel in your own mind that, you know, like you said earlier on, and that if the management team are thinking, no, we want to get this right, is there a realistic sort of calm button in you that you just press and go, look, we just keep it tight, keep as close to the top as we can. If we don't make it this season, we don't make it this season. Do you see a development, though, towards a situation where this lot, with the right maybe extra addition or two with slot, could actually be title challengers? Because it feels that way to me, I have to say, and maybe it's wishful thinking.
Yeah, but all we have to do, Trevor, more or less, is keep doing what we're doing, and that will get us a long way. In an ideal world, yeah, you want to do all sorts of and sign players in January. But I just think if we carry on doing what we're doing, then we got every chance. I'm still adamant that it's going to be between the three of us. The one thing, but that's because we had 9 years of Jurgen Klopp and the way he played. I always felt that one of our major strengths was our ability to get the opposition out of their comfort zone by our intensity and by our chaos. There was no team better playing chaotic football than what we were. And that rapidity, you know, if you look at Spurs and Arsenal coming to Anfield over the years and being 2-3, 4-0 down after 15, 20 minutes, Manchester City being rattled on a number of occasions at Anfield. We don't quite have that anymore. You know, that's not how we play anymore. You know, they saw a Jurgen Klopp thing more, and he got more from the players, he got more from the crowd. We don't sort of have that anymore. But what we have now is, I think we've got to get used to. That will also get you a long way because it's extremely difficult to play against. I believe, we conceded 5 goals in the Premier League, which is next to nothing. And so if we continue to do the things that we're doing, we'll get close. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And I keep saying about Manchester City, they can't, Trevor, keep getting away with it.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.